everyone. Welcome once again to our weekly media briefing and public health update with Montgomery County Executive Mark Urich. I'm Lorna Virgil, the Hispanic Public Information Officer, and joining us today is Dr. James Bridgers, who is the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services. And our guests this afternoon are Jared Smith, who is the President and CEO for the Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, as well as Lauren Lehman, who is the president and founder of Four Season Giving Tree. Mr. County Executive, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this week. And if my voice sounds a little bit weird or I cough, I think I have a cold. So bear with me. I'm pleased to be joined today by the new president and CEO of the Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, Jared Smith. And Jared's taken over the MCEDC after being the Director of Economic Development and Tourism for the city of Henderson in Nevada, part of the Las Vegas metropolitan statistical area, and serving more than 2 million residents. And previously, as the Chief Operating Officer at the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, he generated $17.2 billion in economic impact over 6 years, and the highest results in the organization's history. Over the past decade, he helped drive the diversification from Nevada's tourist-based regional economy, contributing to the creation of more than 20,000 jobs. And this is an impressive track record that we are fortunate to have his experience and talents working for our economy at this critical time. One of the things that interested me most about him was pivoting the economy to make it more diversified over there. And that's one of the things we've been working on here, to find new avenues for economic development, and having somebody experienced in that is really going to add to our team. So I'm excited to have him here. One thing is I'm excited is the enthusiasm that we've shown to focusing on bolstering our life sciences, technology, cybersecurity, and hospitality industries. While retaining and attracting large business and employers is crucial, it's also important to keep growing the companies of tomorrow. So just this week, the MCEDC announced awards totaling $7.5 million to local businesses that applied for the Technology Innovation and Founders Funds grants. There are 55 early-stage companies that will utilize this money to support their business growth through activities that help them advance their technologies toward the marketplace. These awards reflect the kind of economy we're building in the county, and we want small companies from different industries with strong ideas to have a real shot at growing here. And that means investing early, supporting these companies' commercialization, and removing barriers that too often hold people back. I appreciate the partnership with the Montgomery County Council, the MCEDC, and our Department of Finance in launching this program to help dozens of companies, not only in biotech and medtech, but also in other sectors that we are growing in the county, including space communications, AI, clean energy. And we're investing in our business community, and it's good for our entrepreneurs, good for our workforce, and good for the long-term strength of our local economy. I'm now going to turn this over to MCEDC's new CEO and president, Jared Smith, to introduce himself and talk about his approach to economic development and job creation.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. County Executive, for such a warm introduction. If my voice sounds a little off this morning, it's because I have a Southern drawl. And, I appreciate the comments about diversifying the economy. And in the introduction, it says that I did it. And in fact, it's going to take all of us to diversify an economy. So we do things with partners all across the county. So I agree with your remarks about economic diversification. And as you noted, I've spent the past decade driving business diversification in Nevada, which faced unprecedented challenges during the pandemic as a tourism-based economy. The Montgomery County has also faced challenges due to federal budget cuts. I'm very confident in our business ecosystem. Just over the past several months alone, we've seen large investments from global companies like AstraZeneca and X-Energy. But instead of focusing on challenges that we face and that the entire nation is facing, I prefer to look for those opportunities. And over the last week, I've had the privilege of meeting with you, sir, and members of the county council, our local partners, and the MCEDC staff to learn about those priorities and goals over the next year. And through every conversation, I've increasingly felt the enthusiasm about the potential in this community. And over the next few months, I'll be working closely with our team at MCEDC and our partners on a strategic planning process to identify the county's strengths and opportunities and how we can build upon those assets that are already in place to better support local businesses. So our overall mission at MCEDC is to make the community better for Montgomery County residents. And the conversations I've had over the last week have truly energized me. What I've noticed that truly sets Montgomery County apart as a top business destination is the strong network of partnerships between state and local governments, higher education institutions, industry partners, and the collaboration and alignment between those various organizations. And through these collaborations, we are able to engage directly with companies, learn about their challenges and successes, and identify opportunities to better support their growth and retention. And these conversations allow us to align resources and ensure that businesses have the tools and connections that they need to thrive in Montgomery County, and not just big companies, small businesses. A great example of this is the Technology Innovation and Founders Funds that the county executive spoke about. I've had the opportunity to speak with the county executive and county members about their support for small business, and it's incredible. This program is a powerful example of what's possible when local partners come together to drive innovation and empower those small businesses. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy and of any economy. And I'm encouraged by programs like the Technology Innovation and Founders Funds that invest in the diverse talent that's in our community. I look forward to continuing to work with and learn from local leaders as we support and strengthen our entrepreneurial ecosystem. And at MCEDC, we remain deeply committed to fostering those partnerships. And by continuing to build relationships, connect companies with key stakeholders, and promote Montgomery County's exceptional assets, we can ensure that the county remains a regional, state, and national leader in high growth industries. So I'm so excited for what's to come, and I look forward to building on this momentum together. And I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to be here today and to partner with you and the county. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Members of the media, if you have any questions for MCEDC new Executive Director, Mr. Smith, please raise your hands. I see Mr. Barnard from Fox 5 DC has questions. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks so much. And this would be for Mark and Mr. Smith both. How do you see data centers fitting into this new world that you're talking about here?
So I see data centers as possible, but they just have to be done right. People actually know how to do it right. Prince George's County has come up with a set of guidelines, and Frederick has. We're going to be proposing a set of guidelines, and we'll have a public hearing on this. But we think there are ways to do this in a way that's responsible. I do think there's some things that are important. I think that PJM needs to require data centers to bring their own energy, whether they have it directly on site or whether they supply it into the grid. If we don't increase the energy supply, the data centers are going to be a real challenge for us. People were already talking about potential brownouts last summer, and we weren't even deeply into data centers. So we've got to make sure we do this right. We site them right. We don't want to make the mistakes that were made over in Northern Virginia where people are not very happy with the siting. But we've got places where we can put them. And we think there's a way to go forward and do them in a way that's responsible.
I don't really have much to add to that other than to agree with the county executive that sustainability measures are important in that development. Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Bob. Members of the media, any other questions for Mr. Smith this afternoon? If there are no more questions, you can remain on this briefing if you like, Mr. Smith, but if you need to depart, please feel free to do so. Mr. County Executive, other topics?
So we have a second guest this week who's going to talk more about the Montgomery Gives Local campaign. This is an important program that the county's done. My office helped launch this effort in response to the traumatic year for our federal workforce, contractors, and the departments that saw programs eliminated or gutted. These are extraordinarily difficult times, and one group feeling those impacts the most are nonprofit organizations that deliver critical services to the people in our county. We as a county government have consistently invested to help our community in times of need, including $200 million for our local nonprofits who provide services for people in the community, $62 million for services to end and prevents homelessness, and more than $23 million in food assistance. Nonprofits also rely heavily on support from local residents, which is why it's important to ask everyone to help them with this tremendous load and the surge in need. There really is a surge in need. And, we've been very generous. People stepped up, during the shutdown. And we need people to continue to step up and make sure that the nonprofits that provide these services can continue to do that. Last week, my office held our annual holiday luncheon. That included county executive office staff providing donations to a local nonprofit organization. This year, the charity we supported was Four Season Giving Tree. During the luncheon, I was able to learn from Four Season Giving Tree founder and CEO, Lauren Lehman, how her organization came about and how it grew so quickly. I found the story so compelling that I wanted her to come on today and share that with our county residents and with you. So thank you for being here, Lauren, and you may take it away.
Thank you so much. I really want to thank both you and Scott for providing me this opportunity to share my story. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen to provide a brief update on kind of the work that we do and how it impacts. So again, my name is Lauren Lehman. I'm with the Four Season Giving Tree, and the main goal of this nonprofit is to fulfill the immediate needs of any disadvantaged families throughout new and upcycled donations. So just to give a little overview of kind of the story and growth for this, basically this originally initiated when I was volunteering. I work full time, but I volunteered to assist teachers in their classroom. And while I was doing so, I noticed that students were lacking certain essentials. I actually watched one of the teachers when I was volunteering look at the tags of another student that was in the classroom. And when I asked her privately, like what she was doing, to figure out what was going on. And she let me know that she was spending her own money to help fulfill the needs of like jackets for students that didn't have enough money or their families didn't have enough money. So when I saw that happen, I basically said, hey, you shouldn't have to spend your own money. I found that many teachers were doing that in the schools for those that were disadvantaged. They were using their own funds to personally purchase basic things like shoes and warm clothes. So I said, give me the list. Let me start collecting these items. So I used Nextdoor, I use Facebook, any kind of social media that I had at my fingertips and local email lists, and I started mobilizing the community. I asked for general things that the family needed. Their information was all kept confidential. I put out the needs. We filled it within hours, and we were able to get it to the schools and the kids in need. So that went on. That went on for a few years. I was just kind of doing that. I was the go-to for various schools in the area. And then in 2021, we officially became a nonprofit with pro bono support. We essentially, one of the community members linked up with a family, and their connection was so meaningful that they decided to, in fact, help with pro bono efforts to make this a nonprofit. So because I was already so busy, because I was working full time, this was an immense help, and it really got this movement to become larger. So essentially, we work directly with the Montgomery County Public Schools pupil personnel workers, family engagement specialists, community care coordinators, teachers, and counselors, and they are the ones who identify students that are lacking basic necessities. So they come to us, primarily we started with our core group in 20878, and then we started moving to other zip codes because other local pupil personnel workers were able to provide us with requests and then pick up the donations because we're a very localized efforts, but we spread pretty far in Montgomery County this year because we have a lot of PPWs who see our impact. We also have been able to expand to a Frederick chapter as a volunteer requested to initiate these efforts. So we're really growing. We have two main programs that this focuses on, our holiday programs. So right now we're at our busiest time of the season, and this is where families are referred by MCPS to participate. We connect local community groups, either neighbor associations like Cub Scouts, things like that, with families in need. What makes us different from other organizations is that we ask for actual wish lists of the families. We're not just giving kids random toys that match their age. We're asking the families, what do you need? What kind of toys are the kids actually asking for? So we provide very specific guidelines. We really want to meet the direct needs of the family. So donors can either provide monetary support, 100% gets directed for the holidays to the family. So when we get that money, we turn that into gift cards, either food gift cards or Amazon or Target, so these families can really get the essentials. Or donors receive a wish list where they get the wish list of the family, they wrap the clothes, they wrap all the toys, and then they deliver them. So they are able to see firsthand the impact they're making. Our program really is focused on year-round matching. So that's what we do all year round. So if a school official, a PPW, or someone notes a family that's undergoing a crisis, they need basic necessities like clothes, soap, things like that. They let us know, we put it out to the community, and we always fill it. So our donors are super generous. We've been able to keep this going. Anyone that comes for help, we're able to provide support to them. So I'm proud of our expansive team and volunteers that make all this happen. Here's just a story just to kind of show how we spark change. This was when the pandemic happened. There was a school counselor that reached out about a family in crisis. And so at that time, kids were asked to use Zoom. So MCPS teachers were able to see what was going on if they shared their cameras. So during one class, a teacher noticed during a Zoom class that a child had no beds or furniture in their room. Literally, they were in a room with nothing in it. So they let the counselor know. The counselor found out that, they had stored their belongings due to illness and relocation. They were living with another family member. When they moved on their own to an apartment in Montgomery County, they had nothing. Everything that they had that was in storage was ruined by a rat infestation issue. So they moved into the apartment. They were a very humble family. They didn't alert anyone to their needs. They were just trying to make do. So these kids went without beds for probably months. So after the counselor let us know, within like the hour, I rallied my community support. I used social media. And within an hour, let me tell you, these kids had beds delivered to their house with sheets, blankets, everything they needed. And at that point, we still needed a bed for the parents. So I posted an urgent kind of plea for help. I remember it was on Nextdoor at the time. A local mover responded. Not only did he deliver the bed, but he said, I have furniture that I'm hired to offload to the waste transfer station almost weekly. Instead of delivering items like this to the waste transfer station, let me deliver it to families in need. So after that, this family received a whole apartment full of furniture. We built a lasting relationship with a local mover who, anytime he has furnishings, he lets us know. This has benefited the community immensely. And this is a success story for us because we assisted this family so much with donations. They were able to get back on their feet. They no longer need support. And it was just, it was a huge movement for our organization to really help this family when they thought there was no other help that they could receive. This year, for a holiday giving program, we have a lot of local partners, both in Montgomery County and Frederick County. So this year is our biggest year than ever, with local partners, and they've all supported families, so I've listed them here. We also have local sponsors. As Mark was saying, this is a tough year for nonprofits. A lot of people have lost their jobs, so our donors are not able to spend as much as they would have. So we've kind of narrowed our guidelines a little bit, but we are so grateful for the local sponsors because all the money that they provide gets turned right into food, Amazon, or Target gift cards for our families. So my hope and plan for this organization is to have a dedicated volunteer in every zip code in Montgomery County to lead a chapter, because we feel that the success of this organization is that our very local presence, where we focus on giving within a very particular zip code, encourages more giving because it's convenient for the donors. Donors, when they're busy with their workday, they're commuting, they don't want to travel far to drop items off. So we're a drop at the doorstep of whoever needs it. No communication needs to happen with the family. We're able to provide goods and basic necessities. all very localized. So that's why this is very important. And that's why we rely on pupil personnel workers that if they're out of the zip code, they're willing to come get items from us. So our progress, like I said, we've expanded to the Frederick chapter. We have a chapter at Good Counsel High School where they've taken on quite a number of families this year through donorship programs. And really the vision of this is just to inspire more volunteers to participate in this, to initiate a local chapter. But thank you so much, to Mark for allowing me the opportunity to just share. We're a small grassroots organization, so it's nice to kind of get the word out and how one person can make a difference. And my team, I cannot thank them enough because they've made this organization what it is to help so many. We've helped over 600 families to date. So, and for our Christmas program, I'm still tallying up the numbers, but it's a little bit over 140 families in Montgomery County.
Well, I find
Thank you so much.
It's pretty remarkable what you've been able to do, and I hope you're successful in getting people in every zip code, because I think the way you've set it up makes it pretty easy to model, and I'm sure you'll be there to help people, manage the model.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I wanted people to hear this. We don't hear, God knows we don't hear a lot of good stuff these days, and it's just really good to hear stories about what people are doing to help other people in their community. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Lehman. Members of the media, do you have any questions for Ms. Lehman this afternoon? Please raise your hands. No questions regarding this topic? Well, Ms. Lehman, I see Judith. Judith, hi, good afternoon. The Greater Olney News. Go ahead, Judy. You might need to unmute.
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. I just wanted to ask Ms. Lehman if there is a contact that we can put out there if people want to help. I may have missed it, and I apologize if I did.
So I can, my website, I think it's fourseasongivingtree.org, and we have all the contact information there. So anyone can, there's a volunteer page where people can, list to help. We have a donation page on our website. So it's all there.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Judith. Members of the media, any additional questions for Ms. Lehman? Okay, Ms. Lehman, you can remain here on this media briefing, or you can depart if you need to.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone. Take care.
Okay, Mr. County Executive, all the topics.
So this past weekend, the Montgomery County Police Department had extra patrols out at Hanukkah ceremonies in response to the horrific terrorist attack that we saw in Australia. Even a county with some of the most restrictive, even a country with some of the most restrictive gun laws in the world, apparently is not immune to terrorist attacks. This one targeted Jewish people on the first night of a holy and joyous celebration. It's hard to imagine how this wouldn't upset, horrify, and disturb every community. Our thoughts and our condolences are with those who were impacted by this acts of anti-Semitism, especially those meant to intimidate families and communities during moments of gatherings and celebration, must be called out clearly and condemned without hesitation. I've heard directly from members of Montgomery County's Jewish community who are shaken by the violence and concerned that the violence could be repeated elsewhere. I want them to know that their safety is a priority in this county, and our vigilance will continue, especially for their sacred moments with families and loved ones. Montgomery County stands firmly against anti-Semitism, hate, and political violence in all forms. There is no good form of this. We will continue to work closely with faith leaders and community organizations and law enforcement to ensure people can gather, worship, and celebrate without fear. We have new news from the Maryland House of Delegates. We have new leadership. For the first time, an Afro-Latina immigrant will serve as the House Speaker, and I want to congratulate Delegate Jocelyn Pena-Melnick on her historic election. She becomes only the second Latina presiding officer in our nation's history. Speaker Pena-Melnick is respected by her colleagues. I've known her for years, and I know the work she does, and she's respected across the state and across the aisle. That standing comes from years of serious people-centered work and a willingness to engage across differences when the issues matter most. Throughout her career, Speaker Pena Melnick has passionately advanced many of the same priorities that guide our work in Montgomery County, including expanding access to health care, addressing inequities, advocating for working families and marginalized communities. These values can be seen in the legislation she's led and the way she approaches public service. I've appreciated her partnership with me and our state delegation over many years, and I'm grateful for her consistent engagement with our county on issues that directly affect our residents. As she prepares to lead the House at a pivotal moment for Maryland, I look forward to continuing that partnership and working together to meet the challenges ahead with seriousness and purpose. I want to thank Speaker Adrienne Jones for her service since 2019. Her steady leadership during the pandemic and throughout Maryland's economic recovery helped guide the state through an extraordinarily difficult period, and her legacy as Speaker will continue to shape the institution that she leaves behind. Early today, our Department of Environmental Protection put out a statement noting that the Maryland Department of the Environment issued a notice of violation to ReWorld, the operator of the county's waste energy facility in Dickerson. Testing revealed in November showed that one of the boilers exceeded state permit limits for dioxins and furans, highly toxic pollutants that pose serious health risks. These results came from routine stack testing conducted in September and show emissions well above what is allowed under Maryland law. We have no idea how long this was going on. ReWorld has since identified a tear in the baghouse system that is supposed to capture pollutants before they are released into the air, and repairs have been made and additional testing is underway. The Department of Environmental Protection is requesting detailed information from ReWorld and the Northeast Maryland Waste Disposal Authority and bringing in a third-party expert to assess health risks. DEP and our county government is committed to being transparent with the community about this issue and will continue to share information with the public as it becomes available. But the larger issue here isn't the single tear or a single boiler. It's that this aging facility that relies on outdated technology can be a threat to public health and the environment. For decades, this incinerator has been one of the county's largest pollution sources. It contradicts our climate action plan and hinders efforts in waste reduction, reuse, and composting and recycling. The unequal impact of air pollution raises environmental justice concerns. We are currently reviewing RFP responses for a temporary waste hauling solution as we modernize the Dickerson facility and adopt better waste management methods overall. This notice of violation is another reminder that continuing to rely on this facility is not a long-term solution. We need to be honest about the risks and the costs and the direction we want to go as a county. Protecting the public health and meeting our climate commitments means planning a responsible transition away from incineration and towards cleaner and safer alternatives. On my favorite topic, drones, policing and public safety have seen the benefit of using drones over the past 2 years in Montgomery County. Now, our Department of Permitting Services, or DPS, is integrating drone technology into its operations. DPS drones are used for compliance documentation, monitoring construction progress, and enhancing staff training. They allow inspectors to quickly and safely survey difficult areas like steep slopes and stormwater systems. This reduces site inspection time from 3 to 4 days to 2 to 3 hours, improving customer service and speeding up the permitting process. Data and footage obtained by the drones can also be utilized by our DPS staff to enhance their performance. The drones will be operated by FAA certified pilots who are aware that they are not permitted to fly over private properties. I'm looking forward to see how these drones improve the efficiency and effectiveness of our permitting process, and I thank and appreciate DPS's willingness to embrace new technologies and methods to improve performance. Good news. AARP ranked Montgomery County among the best places for seniors to live in the nation. Our county fell into the very large communities category and competed against the biggest cities. We ranked second on the list, only behind San Francisco, but ahead of Fairfax County and Washington, D.C., which placed 5th and 14th, respectively. AARP ranked jurisdictions on several categories, including providing safe and walkable areas with access to shops, groceries, and restaurants. The survey also looked at the quality of healthcare, physical activity opportunities, and the health of the environment. Accolades like this help confirm what we already know about Montgomery County. We are a great place to live, work, and play. We strive to give everyone here the same opportunities, and that's the idea behind the age-friendly Montgomery program, which is now in its 10th year. Many of our departments, like libraries, recreation, and the Department of Health and Human Services, rely on this program to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our community. And that's important as we see more residents living longer. We take pride in giving older adults the opportunity to age in place and thrive. Before we open up to questions, I'd like to give my staff an opportunity to provide any updates they want to share, and we'll start with our health team.
Good afternoon, Mr. County Executive. Just want to remind folks again, over the past several weeks, we've provided our crisis helpline. It is our help and outreach to the community, either through 988 or our 24-hour crisis service center, which is 240-777-4000. But over the last week, it's been cold, and we have a homeless information line as well. And I wanted to share that with our community. That number is 240-907-2688. If you see someone who's out in the extreme cold, individual or families, please reach out on this number. And it is associated with our crisis helpline, which is 24 hours. 7 days a week, so that we can get those individuals into a warm and sheltered space. I wanted to remind of the human and person-centered services that we provide at the Department of Health and Human Services, and we need your community support. Thank you, Mr. County Executive. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. O'Donnell now for his health update.
Thank you, Dr. Bridgers. This is just to remind folks that we are in the upswing of respiratory disease season. Most of our hospital visits are currently a result of influenza, but we are seeing increases in RSV, and we're just starting to see a little bit of increase in COVID activity as well. But regardless of what it is, we're just reminding folks to exercise precautions. If you have respiratory symptoms, including a fever, please try to isolate yourself away from others. Stay home until you start to feel better. If you are around others, it's a good time to wear a mask. And again, try to be extra precautious when you are around those who are immunocompromised, including our seniors. And it's not too late to get vaccinations for all of these vaccine treatable diseases. So thank you. And I'd like to turn it back over to the county executive and his team.
Dr. Slaughter, do you have any remarks today? And my apologies, I did not introduce you this afternoon.
Okay, I joined a minute late, which is normally enough time to be on time, but not today. I just want to note a couple things. Obviously, we have, over the holiday season, we see a lot of fires typically. And just as a reminder to make sure you keep your Christmas trees watered. If you have lights plugged in, make sure that they are, you have the right load on your electrical system and don't leave the fires there. Candles burning obviously can be a problem if you leave them unattended. So just there's some winter safety tips that Pete Pieringer from the Montgomery County Fire Rescue has put up on his social media, and I encourage people to take a look at those. We do see a lot of seasonal fires, particularly with the cold weather that we've been seeing with, over the holiday season. So just as a reminder to people, please be attentive. Don't turn the holiday season into, it's supposed to be one of the happiest times of the year, and please don't have that be changed by a fire in your house. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stoddard. I see hands up from members of the media. Lionel Donovan, you're first. Go ahead. Good afternoon. Lionel, you might need to unmute. Okay. Let's move on to Ms. Hackleby from Bethesda Today. Good afternoon. Make sure to unmute.
Hi, good afternoon. So my question is about the incinerator and the notice of violation that was issued there. I'm just wondering, the elevated pollutant levels were attributed, at least in the county's release, to a issue with the bag house in affected boiler. I'm just wondering, does this have anything to do with like any maintenance that would have been deferred in anticipation of taking this facility offline either in 2031 or before that, as the county executive mentioned?
So actually, we're paying for maintenance in our contract. So if they neglected the maintenance, that's a problem. We're going to follow up on this. We're going to get a report done because we're concerned about how this happened because we have actually no idea how long this has been going on. So we'll try to get to that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne Pollack, Montgomery Community Media. Good afternoon, Suzanne.
Hi, on the same topic, I was just wanted to, will there be a report or something issued to know exactly how bad it was, or what was, people are affected and how it happened? And
That's what we're hoping to do, bring in the right people to do a study and figure out what happened and give us some guidelines. If I would like to know where the dioxins landed. Is this a local problem, or is this not a local problem? So we're going to do that. I don't know. I think I've got folks from DEP on the call. If they would like to add anything to what they plan on doing, I'd invite them to do that. If they're still on the call.
well, one quick question then. Also, is this the first time you've received a violation, or at least in recent times, or is not a regular thing? But
had violations before. They've had to shut the place down before because they had uncontrolled fires. So it's not the first time that they've had a problem.
Mr. County Executive Jennifer Macedonia, the new director for the Department of Environmental Protection, is on the call. Do you want her to speak?
Yeah.
Okay. Jennifer, if you can unmute and if we can see you.
Hello, this is Jennifer Macedonia. Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
I hear you, yes.
Yes. I wanted to just reiterate the points that the county executive just made, that the Department of Environmental Protection has asked questions of the operator of the facility, and we are receiving some responses, and we will be circling back to share those. One of the questions that we've asked of the operator has to do with, the cause of the exceedance. They're looking into it and doing engineering studies to identify those causes. And we are also planning and looking into getting a third party expert who can look into any potential health impacts. But first, we need to understand how long the malfunction may have occurred for. So that has to do with some of the pre-test protocols that the operator undertook. They did internal inspections prior to the September stack test when these higher emissions were measured. And based on real-world review of those inspection protocols, they said that there was no indication of a malfunction heading into the stack test. Of course, the emissions indicated something was going on, and then they made inspections and identified some problems. The unit had been scheduled for regular maintenance, so they had taken the unit offline on November 7th to undertake a series of inspections and regular maintenance. And some of these things that they discovered would have been subject to the maintenance that they were planning to do at that time as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lionel, we see you now. Can we hear you?
Hopefully, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go
Okay,
ahead.
awesome. Thank you so much. I wanted to kind of switch gears a little bit and talk to Executive Elrich about some legislation that he signed on Monday in regards to tenant evictions, right? This legislation, which will now give tenants 14 days notice before getting evicted. I wanted to ask a bit of a two-part question. One, why do you think having this amount, this extra amount of time will help tenants in Montgomery County? And I guess we can just start with that one. Why do you think this having 14 days notice will help renters here in Montgomery County that are facing eviction?
So, if you have to deal with this in 6 days, that can be really challenging. I mean, some of us who have cars and have them, You can
Amy
hire,
Fair, when he interfered.
Is that background noise? Is that you,
Oh.
Lionel? There you go. Right. Thanks.
I was
Continue.
saying that for a lot of people, they don't have access to cars. They may not have friends with trucks. They may be strapped for money and not able to hire a mover. And it can be really challenging to get this done in 6 days. The other thing is that we weren't being notified of the evictions. And what we've done is we've put ourselves in line with state law, which was passed this last year to go to 14 days. And also that requires notification of the housing department. So when we know about this, we will be able to have our folks who work on services to prevent eviction, they'll be able to get on it on top of it and have 2 weeks to try to find a solution for these people. I think, you have to do this as humanely as possible. It is heartbreaking, if you've ever seen, and I see it in Montgomery County, people's belongings tossed out on the front of the apartment property by the curb and out there in the rain, out there in the snow. People at night will rummage through it and see what they want to take. And people can lose everything. And we should be a little bit more humane about this. We're not saying you can't evict somebody, but it should be done in a way that gives a person a chance to at least piece their life back together.
If I may add, so over the summer, last summer, we were obviously dealing with the situation around eviction of some Afghan refugees. And I think one of the big lessons that we learned in conjunction with the lead sponsor of the bill, Councilmember Mink, is that it worked out better for everyone involved. It worked out better for the landlord. It worked out better for the resident. It worked out better for the sheriff's office. It worked out better for the Department of Housing, Community Affairs, and Department of Health and Human Services for us to have more notice, because effectively what we were able to do is prevent the forced sheriff eviction, meaning in many cases the person ended up moving to a new place because they in many cases couldn't afford to stay in the place that they were currently residing in, but the county was able to work with them and get them into a place that was more it matched their income and it matched the supports the county would provide them in a more effective way. And rather than, as the county executive alluded to, having their belongings removed and put on the curb, they end up in a homeless shelter or some other situation, couch surfing. It was a much more efficient process. Furthermore, there have been situations in the past where the sheriff's office comes out to do an eviction and there becomes a point of conflict between the person being evicted and the sheriff's office that presents, puts them in danger of a criminal justice involvement. It puts the sheriff's deputies themselves in danger. And so we were able to address this during the refugee situation. And this became a model for how we ought to be able to do this more effectively whenever evictions come up. And so we won't be able to prevent everyone from having to leave the place that they're in, but we probably can prevent, in many cases, the need for a forced removal and that inhumane treatment, as the county executive alluded to in some of these situations. And again, that benefits the landlord too, because obviously the optics of that for them are bad. And they can get someone to move out and not have a conflict in their building.
Okay. And kind of a follow-up to that, right? Montgomery County has done a lot, put together a lot of legislation in regards to, helping renters, whether it's rent stabilization. Now this legislation regarding 14 days notice on the county level, but there are spots in the county, Rockville, Gaithersburg, that, what I understand, would not fall under these protections. Are you concerned that at some point renters from Rockville, from Gaithersburg might leave these cities and, for lack of a better term, maybe flood other parts of the county seeking these protections? And do you have are you concerned about how that might impact, other parts of the county?
Look, first place, there's such a shortage of affordable housing that people would have to be pretty lucky to find another place in another part of the county. This is not going to be a flood of people because I don't have places in this county to handle a flood of people coming out. Also, it's not a ton of people. And what we're finding is we can actually get them into other housing if we've got the ability to have 2 weeks rather than do this in 6 days. So to me, it's a big deal to be able to make this change and make sure that everybody's able to be successful in this transition. And I think that's the benefit. I really don't picture a flood of people doing this.
Thank you, Lionel.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for the county executive and county officials? No more questions today? Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Have a great afternoon. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Mr. County Executive. Bye.
Thank you.